All right. I think we've got our last bond hearing of the morning. It is 24 PI 008746. State versus, is it pronounced Drinkard?
Yes, sir.
Or Drinkard?
It's Drinkard.
Drinkard. Mr. Drinkard is here, represented by Mr. Cazzoli. Mr. Abate is here for the state. And Mr. Drinkard, we're going to talk about bonds today. Your case is assigned to my division. As long as it remains unindicted, we talk about bond. At some point, the state may indict you. When they do, it'll be randomly assigned to one of 15 different judges. I'm one of them. So it may be that if you're indicted, the case stays here, but that would just be a coincidence. Chances are it'll end up in a different courtroom and it'll move forward that way. But until you're indicted, if there are any questions about bond, that's with me. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. I'm going to hear from Mr. Cazzoli, and then I'll hear from Mr. Abate, and I'll let you know what we're going to do. I'm ready.
Ready. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Drinkard is 44 years old. Your Honor, Mr. Drinkard has been incarcerated. He was in prison for about 10 years before moving over here. So he's been in continuous custody. So he did not have an address when we first discussed. I've learned today.
Well, he got out at some point because this case is not from 11 years ago.
I'm sorry, it may be an approximate 10 years.
No, I'm fine that he was, I'm sorry for him that he was in for 10 years, but he must have gotten out of, no, this
case is from 2015, Your Honor.
Oh, this is a cold case. Okay, I just didn't see the date. When I was reading in the docket, the commitment paperwork, it talked about a drug deal and 2 people being shot. That just happened a long time ago.
Understood, Your Honor.
Got it. Okay, so after this incident allegedly occurred, Mr. Drinkard went to prison for what?
Gun theft. It was the gun theft. Okay, the federal charge. Yes,
okay, a federal case. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. My apologies.
No, my apologies. I was thinking, I saw the arrest date is listed as a few weeks ago, and so as I was reviewing these many cases last night, I guess I didn't pick up on the 2015.
Yes, sir. I think I buried the lead a little bit there, but
okay.
But yes, Your Honor, Mr. Drinkard, he has been in continuous custody for roughly 10 years. I believe it's probably 9 and some change.
Okay.
But he recently came across a new place to stay. He just let me know that today. I just need to call his partner, Your Honor, to get that address. I do not have that available at this time, but he will have a place to stay upon release, whenever that is. Your Honor, he's been living in Atlanta for the last 35 years. His whole family is from Atlanta. Again, the time in federal prison, I'm not exactly sure whether, I doubt that's within the city bounds, but he's been a resident of Atlanta for that time. Your Honor, he has a 10-year-old son as well who lives in Kentucky. He has his GED. He received that in the year 2000. And yes, Your Honor, I had it was the possession of a firearm and conspiracy charge plus probation. That was the foundation of that 2015 case that he served 9 to 10 years for. Your Honor, there's 2 different murder charges here, as well as the armed robbery and the drug charge as well. I think it is important to note, Your Honor, that this is a case from quite some time ago. The potential danger to victims or adjacents to the victims, such as family or friends, Your Honor, can have only decreased in this time. Your Honor, I will also, my understanding, Your Honor, is that his criminal history, aside from the most recent stuff, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened in Fulton County, so I can't really speak to his history beyond that.
Okay, we'll get it from Ms. Jackson in just a second.
Thank you, Your Honor. But we're going to ask for a bond not to exceed $100,000. We're asking for 45. I'm sorry, Your Honor, 40 on each of the murder charges, 10 on the armed robbery, and 10 on the drugs, so 90,000.
90. Okay.
Oh no, sorry, I did 10 and 10. 100 total.
100. Okay, that's what you had said.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you for that. Ms. Jackson, can you share criminal history information on Mr. Drinkard?
Yes, Your Honor. He has 16 cycles. The last arrest was April the 28th, 2016. It was a federal case for a weapon offense. He does have prior felony convictions. One in 2017 is a federal case for conspiracy and theft of firearms. One in 2016 out of Douglas County for felony obstruction of an officer. One in 2014 out of Cobb County for theft by receiving stolen property and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. One in 2010 out of Douglas County for theft by shoplifting. One in 1999 out of Cobb County for armed robbery and possession of a firearm. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Are you able to, I don't know, you have always much information, Ms. Jackson. Does that include how long a sentence was or just that there was a conviction?
Sometimes it lists the terms as well.
The 99 Cobb armed robbery, does it list any terms?
Just a moment, please, Your Honor.
Thank you.
10 years and 45 days.
Okay, you did the standard 10 years for the armed robbery.
Every day.
Okay, that's how it's supposed to work. Thank you.
It does say confinement 10 years. And it's, I guess they suspended 2 years. They say suspended sentence 2 years.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Officer Evans, I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to add something?
No, Your Honor, that was the information I was providing.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize that we've got Ms. Simpson shadowing you. Hey, Ms. Simpson.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it is just now afternoon. Thanks for bearing with us all day. Look forward to seeing you in court someday.
Oh,
Yes,
we will be
Judge.
there on Thursday, Your Honor.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Abate.
Thank you, Judge. The state would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond at this time. I'd bring to the court's attention the defendant does have one prior failure to appear out of Cherokee County from March of 2010 for an entering auto. You've heard about the defendant's criminal history. What I would, I guess, highlight is he was convicted of the armed robbery in Cobb County in 1999, served the full 10 years, and then in 2010, less than 6 to 8 months after he was released, he was back in custody in Douglas County for theft by shoplifting and a felony, which he was convicted of. He then, in 2014, found himself back in the DOC custody for theft by receiving stolen property for a 2014 Cobb conviction. And then again in Douglas County in 2016, he served an additional year in DOC custody for what was reduced to felony obstruction. In that case, it was actually a charge for riot in a penal institution, and they reduced it down to a felony obstruction. And then in 2017, he began serving his time in federal custody for the conspiracy to either steal or sell a firearms situation, which he just currently, I believe, finished his time, which is the reason for the delay, because he was serving federal time. What I would say is it, for lack of better words, fell through the cracks in the sense that he obviously, as the court knows, that sentences for a federal sentence and a state sentence can't run concurrently, which was the thought as it relates to producing him here in Fulton County. As the court is aware, it's difficult at times to get federal inmates produced to a state facility while they're serving time. What I can say to the court is, as it relates to the evidence in the case, it's all evidence that's remained intact and preserved in the sense that it's video evidence, it's evidence from cell phone extractions where the defendant is communicating with the two intermediate parties as it relates to a drug deal. He's the actual drug dealer. It is a drug deal disguised as an armed robbery disguised as a drug deal that ends in the death of both Mr. Adams and Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Hilliard did survive shortly to where he was able to knock on a resident's door where this occurred in the area of Campbellton Road and Daniel Road, and is able to describe that he was meeting someone to purchase a large amount of drugs, and they robbed him and shot him. I will say the facts of the case are not something that's overly complicated, or evidence in which has been spoiled or lost. But I would submit to the court, based on the defendant's history as it relates to committing felonies and felony convictions, that at this time the defendant is not an appropriate candidate for bond.
Did the case get stuck, may be the wrong word, but did it just not come across from Atlanta police, or they didn't ever execute a warrant, or they did and then it got stuck in major case? Why would we indict this? Because he's in federal custody, or where? Because he
Second option.
the second option.
Yes.
It's been with the district attorney's office for a number of years. How does it hit your office's radar that now Mr. Drinkard is not in federal custody?
Surprisingly enough, his federal sentence was being tracked, and when they realized, or when it got to the point where the federal time was ending, was when I guess the district attorney's office made sure that the appropriate measures were taken in order to have him brought to Fulton County and the case to be indicted.
Understood. Okay. So Mr. Cozzoli, now that I'm better oriented to the timeline, so Mr. Drinkard did not get released to freedom from federal custody. When that sentence expired, he was transferred to Fulton County custody, where he has now been since the 26th of November, of trying to figure out what's going on with this situation.
Yes, Your Honor, and I think the state spoke to this a little bit, as did Ms. Jackson as well. I think even though the federal case didn't kick in until 2017, he was initially picked up on the 2016 case, which I believe he was actually arrested for in 2015. So it really has just been continuous custody since about a month after these allegations.
Okay. And can you help me understand a little bit more what the federal case, since you pled to it, I don't know that you're exposing yourself to anything, but I want to understand what the allegations were. And your client can answer that if he wants to. You don't have to tell me. I'll learn someday. I'm just trying to understand. That's a lot of time for a stolen gun.
That's what they give out in federal statute. They go by your criminal history. It's guidelines.
I know how it works. I'm just curious what it was you think you pled to.
Okay. Conspiracy I had a tactical understanding with me and several people to break into gun stores and steal the gun.
Okay, so the ATF was interested in you.
ATF is who came and got me.
Yeah.
They spoke to me same time. Some of them came with these allegations. It distributed warrants, and I filed interstate agreement containing acts, the whole bid. Paul Howard continuously wrote me and kept saying in writing, which should be documented somewhere.
Yeah.
This time, we do not feel free to move forward with an indictment on this case. If we feel so to do so at a later time, we will contact you.
Okay, well, it's good that you engaged in those exchanges, and insofar as you've kept it or it's in the record somewhere, your lawyer, probably not Mr. Cozzoli, but if and when you get indicted, is probably going to want to follow up on that to see if there were any timelines that needed to be complied with. All right, for now, I am not setting a bond. What I see is someone who has not had a super happy life from 99 onward, but it is in and out of custody for some pretty serious stuff. And we've got about as serious as you can get with an allegation of a double homicide. Those are only allegations, as opposed to your armed robbery. You either went to trial or you pled. That's a conviction. That happened. The federal stuff happened. So I appreciate these are only allegations. If for some reason the state is not able to move forward at the normal pace with this case, then Mr. Cozzoli, you should let me know and we'll revisit. I am not comfortable right now that Mr. Drinkard has sufficient ties to the community, given his absence from the community for these many years. And I also, based on the criminal history, am not sure that I could impose a set of conditions that would guarantee Mr. Drinkard stay safe and the people with whom he's interacting stay safe. But I will revisit that if things change. And in particular, Mr. Drinkard, you should know that if the state does not indict you within 90 days, not of today, but when you first made landfall, then you're absolutely entitled to a bond. And Mr. Cozzoli is going to be keeping track of that. And he will be letting me know, Judge, we're at day 85 and there's no indictment yet. So put Mr. Drinkard on a calendar, which I will do. And unless the state slides an indictment in between that request and when we have a hearing, then we need to get down to business talking about numbers. Okay? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson and Officer Evans, and Ms. Simpson. That gets us through the calendar. There was one name we didn't get to because there's a private attorney in the mix now, but that person's not gonna be able to make it here